Hi, Zach Reiser here, and welcome back to another Bass Effects review video. Today I'm going to be getting into the very lush and dreamy world of the Polytope by Iron Ether. This is loosely described as a chorus or vibrato pedal, and it can do those things unbelievably well, but it also can go quite a bit beyond the traditional chorus and vibrato. The pedal's got a lot to show, so I'm going to get into it. I'm going to try to show as many different sides of it as I can in this short video, along with combining it with quite a few of my other effects. So here's my bass's dry tone Dingwall ABZ 6-string on the neck pickup. All right, let's hear that with this subtle setting on the Polytope. Incredibly subtle setting, you get a lot of this just movement to your sound. It doesn't seem as static, which is the point of a good chorus. But this one happens to be very warm and very pretty at almost all settings. Let's turn that detune up here to about noon. This is really where we start to get into that lush chorus sound. Just gorgeous. This with the detune at 3 o'clock. Similar chords from earlier. Same thing, detune maxed. So pretty. All right, let's check out what happens when we add some more voices. Okay, I put the detune back at noon. I'm still on a single voice, so this is what that sounds like. Now let's hear what happens when we add that second voice. And it's subtle, but it really adds a lot of body back to that single voice. Second voice. You can hear it literally sounds like there's 3 different versions of my bass being played. Let's try the same thing here, but with 3 voices. Starts getting really thick now. And then for fun, let's crank it all the way to 4. If we crank the detune all the way up with this 4 voices, it just gets pretty wonky. This is a good moment to show the filter. So as you might have heard with these deep detune settings with multiple voices, I'll go back to 2 voices here, pretty high detune. You'll hear this beating going on from the low frequencies. Kind of around 60 BPM. The high-pass filter here only filters the voices or the detuned signal, not my dry bass. So if I pull the dry bass out, here's just the voice signal. If I roll that high-pass filter in, you'll hear my low-end drops. So what this allows me to do is keep the kind of wet chorusing sound, but it gets rid of some of that beating if that's not your thing. So here is that filter totally open with that kind of low frequency beating happening. Turn that filter up to noon though. Notice it still sounds nice, thick, and chorused, but I don't have that really heavy wobble going on. So for the rest of the video, actually, I'm going to leave this at around 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, just to get rid of a little bit of that low frequency kind of wobble. I like a little bit of it, but not a lot. Really cool feature, especially for bass chorus. Okay, so far everything I've shown has been in the low range of the detune setting, so things really get crazy when you kick it onto the high range. So let me show you what I mean. Here is that 9 o'clock detune on the low range. Just gorgeous, simple, pretty chorus. Click it into high range though, and we get into something crazy. Honestly, once you turn the detune up past here, you have a hard time recognizing your basic pitch if your volumes are equalized. So I'm going to turn that up to noon. You'll hear what I mean. So we're really into low-end frequency modulation, kind of almost ring modulation too here. If I crank the detune all the way up, it really gets out there. Essentially, it's wobbling my pitch a few semitones on either side of the frequency. And even though this sounds pretty crazy and out there, and obviously it has more limited uses for most people than the chorus settings, there are some really cool sound effects and this kind of soundscape things we can do with this, which I'll show later in the video. Okay, so I'm back on a pretty standard chorus setting here, honestly the way I would use this pedal most of the time. Nice, thick, heavy chorus here, and I want to start showing it with a few other pedals to show you how much depth this can add to a pretty standard sound. So let's go from my dry bass here and let's add a little bit of overdrive from the Source Audio Aftershock. So without the Polytope, that sounds like this. Okay, with the Polytope. Really nice. Let's add a bit of reverb. Really cool texture for some lead tones. Okay, while I'm on this distorted tone here, I'm going to turn my reverb off, and I want to show a feature I haven't shown yet, which is the LFO. So I've been using a static detuner the entire time, which is like a set rate. It offers, though, the Polytope, a LFO or speed knob here. So if I click that in, I have the option of going from a pretty slow kind of LFO wobble here's kind of into that rotary speaker Leslie range, all the way up to the point where you can barely even hear it, it's going so fast. Okay, so now, just for fun, this is a sound that's always nice to do with chorus and vibrato pedals. I got that LFO set pretty high, turn my clean volume down a little bit, and this is kind of giving me that pseudo Leslie cab vibe. Really cool. This is especially fun just because I can. If we put on a big kind of cathedral organ vibe from the Hog 2, and without the Polytope, this is what I'm playing. With that Polytope though. Woo, there we go. So we're back on a pretty standard chorus here. Again, similar settings from before, just to give you an idea of that sound again. Okay. Now, another one of my favorite uses for chorus and vibrato is with octavers. It just makes them sound, oh, that much fatter. So without the Polytope, here is my Boss OC2 into a Fairfield Accountant compressor. Let's put that into that chorus on the Polytope. So nice. Let's hear a little bit of that actually with a pick. And while I'm on the Octaver here, we might as well get into the synth world a little bit. So let's go with just a pure wet octave signal. And let's run it into that Polytope. Let's get less chorus vibe here and more vibrato. And by doing that, I'm going to pull my clean signal out, so I'm only getting the detuned voices. And I'm going to crank the detune a little higher too. So fat. Similar sound here, but a little bit of grit from the Source Audio Aftershock after my pure sub OC2 into that detune setting. Put my dry signal back in. It's a little more of a chorus. Just for fun, let's crank those voices all the way up and get a little wonkier here with this same sound. So here's actually a good spot where I can jump into when I would use the higher range side of the Polytope. So this is a pretty extreme amount of detuning going on here, and this is with the volume of the voices and the clean at unity, so that wonky sound. Okay, you almost lose total track of the pitch. But if I go back to my kind of synth-based sound here with a bit of dirt on top, and I put that wonky sound on, and I pull back the volume of the voices a little bit, I get into this kind of interesting synth territory where I almost have kind of an octave divider sound going on top of my OC2. Here's into a bit of reverb. Back on a pretty standard chorus sound here again. I want to show what this can sound like with some kind of actual synth effects. So I've been using kind of my pseudo synth bass with my OC2 and some overdrives here. Now I want to use a little bit of the Future Impact to show what it sounds like with a real oscillator. So let's go to a standard kind of triangle wave oscillator synth sound. So that's what this is. Let's put the Polytope on now for some added fatness. Let's add some more voices. so much movement in the sound. Back to 2 voices, up a little higher with some, maybe let's add some reverb. Or you know what, let's add some kind of a long delay. Let's try this with a softer envelope, kind of sawtooth wave sound here. So here's that sawtooth into the delay. Already sounds great. Add a little bit of that chorusing from the Polytope. Okay, slightly more detuned setting here on the Polytope. This is going to be more of a soundscape vibe. So I have a crystals preset set up on my H9 running into a black hole on my other H9. And now I'm putting the Polytope on, and this is after the crystals. So it's the crystals running into the Polytope. Sounds like the crystals have been placed under a huge tank of water. All right, as many people know who watch my videos, I love the freeze gliss setting on the Electro Harmonix Hog. I especially love it with chorus, so I have to show it with the Polytope. So here is the freeze gliss from the Hog going into a reverb without the Polytope. Here is that with this nice chorus from the Polytope. Okay, so another sound that's on slightly that higher end detune range of the Polytope. So this is the high range setting, detune at 9 and all 4 voices. This is what it sounds like with my dry bass. Okay, now with a kind of vintage sounding synth vibe here from my Future Impact, which sounds like this. Running that into this massive detuner. Similar amount of detune, but running into that pure sawtooth wave again. Really start getting into some heavy sounding synth textures with that much detuning. So that is the Iron Ether Polytope. I hope you guys got a good idea of what this pedal is capable of. It is really hard to get a bad sound to come out of this thing. It just seems to add this pretty watery layer to my sound every time I turn it on. And that doesn't mean that you can't get a little bit crazy, which I tried to show as well, but honestly, the subtle chorusing on this thing is hard to beat if that's your thing as well. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be back soon with more pedal and effects reviews shortly. Thanks for watching. Bye.